and I turned up as her band, and the people were looking at it. Is it? I just had a guitar and an amp, and that was the first time I played that style, just pure feedback and whatever it is on that track. And the audience were very weird because they're all these sort of intellectual artsy fartsies from Cambridge, and
Oh, hello, welcome. Welcome to the Mermaid Tavern. How you doing? Ooh, cup of tea. Having a cup of tea in the best, well, I was going to say in the Ruttles sense, but maybe not. But yes. Cheers. Slonjava. Skol. Bottoms up. Yakida. Chin chin. Just to prove I don't always drink alcohol, and but please don't think I'm having a dry January. No, please don't think that. I always look quite red-faced in these videos. People think I'm a bit pissed, and I've had a few comments in the past. People thinking I'm an alcoholic or something. Anyway, it is, and just want to talk about Life with the Lions. Life with the Lions. Unfinished music number 2. Talking of which, I'm going to hand over to a bit of OB in a minute, as they say in the business, outside broadcast. Visited Cambridge and went to find Lady Mitchell Hall, where John Lennon supported Yoko Ono in an event called Natural Music. In a hall, in a sort of big lecture theatre. I think it was over 400 people there, in a hall which has been said more used to the droning of lecturers than the droning of feedback. Well, this album here came out on the 9th of May in the UK, 1969, and a week later in the USA, and it's on the Zapple label, which was the avant-garde clue, as George would say. There we are, the original Zapple UK. Ooh, a thing of beauty. Maybe what's on the record isn't necessarily beautiful, but it's a work of art itself. I think Zapple records are, aren't they? Which is why I've been collecting them now for nigh on 47 years. My God. So yeah, it was Unfinished Music number 2, and Cambridge 1969 is one of the sides of this. No Ben for Beatle John, 2 minutes silence, Baby's Heartbeat. Yeah, you hear the story about that. I heard the story that, of course, the front cover has Yoko in hospital. I think it was Queen Charlotte's Hospital in London. I think. I might be wrong on that one. They lost a baby, didn't they? They had bless Yoko. She eventually had Sean, of course, but that was a long time later, 6 years later. And the Richard Branson said when he was starting Virgin Records, starting Virgin as a tiny business, he approached John for something, and John sent him the Baby's Heartbeat. And of course, Richard Branson didn't use it, but I heard that story a long time ago. Yeah. Cambridge 1969 was one sort of, what is it, about 24 minutes of music on one side of the... Yep, it's interesting. It's not something you want to listen to all the time, or probably ever again. I had a Japanese copy of this, which you could buy in the late 70s, even the late 1970s when I first started collecting records. This album was going for quite a lot of money, as was Two Virgins and the Wedding Album. So I did, like a lot of people probably, in 1978, 79, I bought Japanese import copies of it. It wasn't available anywhere else. So it was a bit of I couldn't afford it back then, And of course, nowadays, what's Two Virgins? These are going for, just looking on Discogs, they're much cheaper. They've come down in price a lot. Fortunately, mine hasn't got the inner sleeve, which I don't know how much. I didn't pay a lot for this, but I had this for quite a while now. Maybe I've had this for about 20 years. Can't remember now. Yeah, a while. But this one, it hasn't got the inner sleeve, which is a bit of a shame because it makes it more valuable. There's information on the inner sleeve. Yeah, but I think it's you can probably get a copy for £70 now, and maybe up to about 100 would it say about 174 it says on Discog. So of course eBay prices are usually a bit more. Some eBay prices are usually a bit more inflated than that. There was Two Virgins mono. It sounds funny. There's a mono. It's a lot of money. I haven't got that, but I've got a very nice copy of the stereo. There's Zapple. I might do a thing about the Zapple label. Yeah, would you fancy that? Interesting thing about the Zapple label. Yeah, there was a very interesting documentary on radio a number of years back about the Zapple label. But yeah, no comment, George Martin. I just noticed that. Made in Merry England. Anyway, that's that. Let's hand over to the OB, as they say. Okay. Hi, I'm at the Lady Mitchell Hall here in Cambridge, and it's it's a bit of a grim 1950s, 1960s sort of brutalist kind of building. Grade 2 listed, of course. It's a lecture theatre, part of what they call the Sidgwick site here, just around the corner from the Queen's Road and the Backs, if you know Cambridge. And of course, I'm here because this is where John and Yoko came on the 2nd of March, 1969. John was really supporting Yoko. It was a guy called Anthony Barnett. He'd invited Yoko to perform to, as John put it later in that 1980 interview, artsy fartsy people here in Cambridge. And as John put it, and then he was Yoko's backing band, and he said that they didn't realise that they were together, but they had a bit of publicity, hadn't they? They done all the sort of Acorns for Peace the year before. This was before the Amsterdam bed-in. It was before they were married, of course. They weren't towards the end of March '69. Just about over a month after the Get Back sessions had ended, end of January. And John was living at, I think, moved back into Kenwood after a brief time living at Montague Square in a few months in '68 after splitting up with Cynthia. I think Cynthia had moved out of the house in Kenwood, and he moved back there, and he lived there until, of course, he bought Tittenhurst Park. Anyway, this was where they came. It was a quiet, like I said, actually a quiet Saturday afternoon today, but it was a quiet Sunday afternoon on the 2nd of March 1969 that they came, and yes, 400, I think some accounts say 500 people were in here to watch Yoko kind of howling away and screeching away, and John with his Epiphone Casino playing like that on the amps. An experience which you can obviously, as I've just said, on the Life for the Lions. By the way, did you know Life for the Lions was a BBC radio and later TV. They did a few films of it. It's an American couple, Lion and BB Daniels. Lions with a Y, and they were Americans, and they lived in England. It became a sort of popular thing, and John obviously remembered it, and that's why he called it Life with the Lions, but that's not with the Y, IONS. So I remember hearing when Andy Peoples referenced this in the interview, one of John's, that famous BBC interview John did just before he was murdered, and he said Life with the Lions, and he said BB Daniels, and I didn't know who that was at the time. Now I do. Yeah, Peter Brown was there. But it was to come up from London. I wonder if they did any sightseeing here in Cambridge. I wonder if they did. Interesting. And Mal's credited on the inner sleeve, which I don't have, but the record. Watch Mal Evans. Watch. You can't hear him, but he's credited for Watch. So I wonder if he was there to keep the time. Say, right, we've got to be going now. Whatever. I don't know. So nice to see Mal credited. He's credited for all sorts of things, isn't he? Tea and Sympathy and Alarm Clock and lots of stuff, as well as Anyway, bless Mal Evans. But yeah, the Lady Mitchell Hall here in Cambridge. Yeah, it was an experience I think that most people probably didn't forget in a hurry. Listening to Yoko screech and for 25 minutes or so, maybe more. There was a few other musicians. I don't know. I think on the 50th anniversary, which would have been 2019, they unveiled a plaque here on the 50th anniversary of the gig. Of course, he was the first solo Beatle to do a gig, really, wasn't he? First, of the Beatles individually to do a gig. Even though, say, he wasn't the star here, it was Yoko who was the star. But yeah, here we go. Let's see if we can get in. I don't think we can. It looks all shut up. Shame we can't get in, but anyway, natural music, eh? Artsy fartsy types. And say thanks for watching. Tea. And will I see you again? I sincerely hope I do. Yeah. Beer. Where's beer? Booze. I demand some booze.